I didn't like not being able to go to church, but I didn't object to it. I thought it was sensible. Very, very strongly supported vaccination. We run gyms, jabs, campaigns, all kinds of things. Sensible precautions, yes, absolutely. Stupid, senseless, harmful ones, no.
It's pretty well known that you've helping with a bit of a class action against the Victorian Government. And how's that all playing out at the moment?
Well, at the moment what we're doing...
Are you winning?
Well, what we're trying to do is to actually get them to admit that there was a stupid thing to do.
Yep.
Because, you know what happened. Basically, they sent out the guidelines that specifically said from Health and Human Services that individual sole operators can continue to work, which is pretty sensible. How can you infect anybody if you're mowing the lawns, you're not talking to anybody? And then the Premier comes out at a news conference on the following week and says you can't get your lawns mowed and your houses clean. Now, he wasn't thinking about the contractors. He was thinking about his affluent inner suburban supporters, people who like him. Couldn't give a stuff about 100,000 plus Victorians thrown out of work for no reason. And I took exception to that, and I got into a lot of trouble. Two of my daughters wouldn't even speak to me for some months afterwards because they were so angry because I wasn't supporting the beloved Premier. Interestingly enough, they both come to a different viewpoint with time. But so I took what it was quite an unpopular stance, and I kept on pushing it, and I pushed it, and I pushed it, and we actually got overwhelming community support. And the biggest thing I'm after, though, is that anything that happens again, and this won't be the last lockdown, we want to know that they won't do it again, that they'll look at sensible scientific responses. Now, what we've done is taken a test case against the Victorian Government because their own law, passed by Andrews himself, says that you cannot deprive a person of their livelihood without proper reason. So now we've gone and said, okay, 100,000 plus Victorians lost their livelihood for 2 months. What was your reason? You know what the response is? We didn't have to tell you the reason. So in other words, the law says you have to have a reason, but the government doesn't have to give you a reason. Just trust us, because we are... Now, we went to the VCAT. Basically, the government refused to give the emails, refused to give the evidence on that, which that decision was made. We're now appealing to the Supreme Court. And they promised a response to that, which is obviously was delayed by the election.
And when you dumb it right, it relates to everyone. If you dumb it right down, you say that the council worker is allowed to mow the grass, but the private person can't. Well, there's no difference.
Even the council workers thought they were stupid. I had them come in to contact me and said, "We support you fully. It's idiotic what done. We don't agree with it." We've got overwhelming support from the community, and that's the main reason why we did it, just to hold people accountable. Because as far as they were concerned, as far as Andrews was concerned, ordinary people had no say. Ordinary workers were just garbage. They're not going to vote for me anyway, so I don't care about them.
Well, that's what you were saying before, and I nearly brought it up in leadership, but I know we have to sort of wrap things up quite shortly, but we were talking about humility with leadership and the like. Well, as a leader, what are your thoughts on Andrews?
Well, that's the point. He was look, give the guy credit. He's a brilliant political operative.
Correct.
He's just won election again, which, considering how he's acted, the stuff up of quarantine, this unnecessary lockdown, is amazing. Now, he's clever. As a politician, he's very clever. One of the things that he's obviously got is you don't admit fault, you never back down. And he's good at it. He does massive amounts of polling. He spends huge amounts of taxpayers' money to understand how Victorians think. He's very good at staying in power. He's a lousy, pathetic leader.
Well, there's no vulnerability there with him, is there?
When you compare the great leaders that we've had in Australia, people like Hawke and Keating and Howard, brilliant leaders who had courage, who did important, disciplined things to change society for the better. And you compare someone like Andrews, who was just a political hack, good at staying in power, good at nothing else.
And as we were sort of saying earlier, that those leaders in the past, they're obviously good at, admiring, getting people to admire them, the certain people, to get what they want. And whether they're the villains or the great kings or whatever, there's certain skills there that allow them to get the right people around them.
Well, Hawke's a classic example. I just read his biography too, which is an amazingly unpleasant man in private life, but a great, great leader for this country. What he did was he was a very relatable guy. He's the kind of guy you want to have a beer with in a pub. Not that I drink beer, of course, but anyway. But the interesting thing about the whole situation was that I took what was originally a very unpopular, very problematic stance, but it actually turned out to be very good for the company because it raised our profile in a way. And a lot of people have actually bought franchises because they saw me sticking up for the franchisees. Not only that, but people in the industry. I get people like independent contractors who come up to me and want to shake my hand and congratulate me and thank me for what I did, because I actually represented them, not just my own franchisees.
Yeah. I find it so interesting and in years to come, it'll be interesting what comes out. But to look back as a bit of a social experiment and look how it affected certain people and certain people, it just, like, politics and religion, and it split everyone. You had people that were just dead for it, the lockdowns and that, and people dead against it. And a lot of those people I thought would be the other way around. And it's obviously just something in someone's personality that they've headed that way.
I refuse to take an extreme view too. I think Australia is too polarised. See, when it comes to reasonable things, I didn't like not being able to go to church.
Yes.
I really found that I missed it, but I didn't object to it. I thought it was sensible.
Yeah.
I was very, very strongly supportive of vaccination.
Yep.
We run gyms, jabs, campaigns, all kinds of things, and we gave stuff away. We did everything possible to get people to vaccinate.
Yep.
So sensible precautions, yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Stupid, senseless, harmful ones, no. Yep. I refuse to be totally. I won't say I'm pro-Labor or pro-Liberal. I'm pretty much in the middle, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
But I like good policies.
Yes.
That help the most people.
Yeah.
Things that make sense.
And I don't like the division in society that's taking place where you have to be one. People actually get onto me. They say, "Well, you're supposed to be on the conservative side, but you favour, taxing, carbon and stuff like that. You can't do that because that's inconsistent." I blow that for a lark. I believe what I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, everyone's allowed to have an opinion, aren't they?
And we shouldn't be plotted into certain areas. Yeah. I subscribe to 4 different publications. 2 would be left of centre.
Yep.
1 would be right of centre, which is the Australian, and one economists. I have no idea how you prescribe them. So to me, you've got to get ideas from all over.
Yep.
Different points of view. Think about it. Read different books from different points of view, and just come to your own conclusion, which are totally your own.
Yeah, your own rather than being.
But that's what we saw during the lockdowns was the unbalance at the Victorian Parliament, because the upper house and lower house, they could just push everything through. So having that balance with politics all round, that's so important. The yin and yang.
Yeah, becoming more marginal. Sort of thing.
Well, no, it's having a balance, because it was out of balance, and you could push through these extreme, we'll say, laws or policies that were having an impact on the broader community without being checked. Yeah. And that was probably the issue overall. So
I'll tell you what, I've never so much appreciated the free press as what happened.
Yeah.
You had basically an elected dictatorship in Victoria, not accountable, couldn't give us stuff about so much of the population. The press held Andrews to account, particularly the Murdoch press, obviously, and people like Sky News and so forth.
Kevin Rudd's friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez, he hates Rupert Murdoch, Kevin Rudd.
A lot of people do.
Yeah.
But it's good to have a balance, though.
Oh, that's right.
You've got your left-wing press, like the Fairfax press, I don't know what they're called now, and the ABC. They're the lefties and the greenies and stuff, and you've got Murdoch, who gives more of the right. Yeah. It's got to be balanced.
Definitely.
And I think that's something that really sort of came up and was highlighted, is that different media outlets probably suit different people's ideas, and that they're not all the same. There's different agendas getting pushed in different ways. But as long as everyone understands that, and you can take an objective view of it all, and and
the thing I find most offensive is that the thing that we all pay for, the ABC, has no interest in giving a wide range of opinions. Yes. They decided we're in the extreme woke greeny side. That's our thing, and you can pay for $1 billion a year for us to push that barrow. Yeah. That's wrong.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with having a whole media outlet for the greenies, but they should pay for it. Don't ask us to pay for it.
Yeah. And we're the same, and like I'm a person that tries to stay in the middle and see both. It's like life. You have to be able to see both opinions, and if you choose one way or the other, well, at least you're educated correctly, rather than just barreling down one road. And
that's right.
Exactly what you said.
Yeah, I think Albanese is doing a decent enough job. I'm not unhappy about him at all in terms of what they've had. So to me, it's just what is that individual person doing? What policies are they pushing for? What vision do they have? And sometimes you'll get the best leadership from different sides of politics.
Would you ever run for Prime Minister?
No.
We could have started the campaign then.
You just heard what I'm saying. Do you think somebody with a mouth like mine can run for politics? I say what I think.
Unfortunately not, because we need more people of your ilk that are happy to stand for something.
It's a very hard thing, politics, though, because you do, it's the gaff thing. You say one thing out of context or in a result, and it's completely blasted and you're crippled and crucified from then on.
That's what's wrong with politics in this country, because you
it's
push
a career job.
But you push all the good people away. They flourish in another industry.
You're absolutely right. We don't have the calibre of politicians that we need, because it's such an important job, but it's not very well paid if you look at it by comparison what you can make in industry. Someone like what's it called, the Prime Minister, Malcolm Turnbull. You know, he was a real rich guy. He didn't need to be
a hobby.
It's a hobby.
Yeah, that's right.
Politics, and I don't think he was too bad, actually.
And we see that in local government in Warrnambool, where people are so busy trying to make ends meet anyway that and we know that like even committees and things like that you're involved in, it takes so much of your time. So a lot of those, as you said, the quality character, just look at it and go, I can't be bothered.
And then you get the public opprobrium, people criticising you and watching you all the time. I mean, it's a pretty thankless profession.
It'd be a tough job. Yeah.
I would not favour. I said that to my MP, who was the speaker. So I wouldn't change my job for yours.
No.
Tony Smith.